friends, welcome back. So I have purple hair now, which I'm stoked about. I love it. Man, I'm just glad that I have the funds to do this. I have the creative mindset to do it. I did my makeup today. If you don't know me, I like to do my makeup. That's like another creative outlet for me. And thinking about doing my makeup when I was in active addiction was no-go, was not a thing that happened. I mean, I remember there's multiple times I looked into the mirror and I was like, who are you? I did not recognize myself. I was skin and bones. I was struggling. I had, acne breakouts or whatever. I was not keeping up with my daily hygiene, obviously. And I looked, I want to say just like dead inside, which is actually exactly how I felt for like months, probably years, I guess, before I gave up my addiction. I actually got out of a very abusive, toxic, manipulative relationship right before I got clean. That's really a whole nother topic, but part of the addiction and not really caring about what you look like, it also played a role being with somebody that was controlling and manipulative and really kind of didn't let me do that sort of thing. It's hard to say that out loud because if you know me now, if you've been following me now, me knowing who I am and like the way that I am now, it's hard to picture myself ever having gotten to that point. But a lot of that plays into the addiction and the hopelessness and the helplessness and the kind of the giving up attitude. That all plays into it. Anyway, that was not what I got on here to talk about. But when I press that record button, I just let it fly. So tonight's going to be about what goes on in an addict's mind when we are doing things that we know you're doing yourself way more harm than anything else. You've lost a lot of things to your addiction, whether it is your home, your family, your job, your money, your car, your physical possessions, but also your fight, your confidence, your motivation, any of that. Your hope, sometimes your faith that you can get better. When you've pretty much lost it all to your addiction and you still can't stop using. The addiction just has that kind of grip on you, which is something that I think a lot of family members that don't understand addiction, they don't grasp, they don't get, and it's frustrating and it's upsetting and it's heartbreaking. And to watch somebody that you love do these things that that they know are deteriorating themselves and the people around them in their entire life, but they can't stop, which causes a lot of frustration. It causes a lot of anger. It causes a lot of fights, I'm sure. That's just like, I can just picture like a family that's torn by addiction, having an addict show up and having another, strong-minded family member or something like that in the room, and everyone kind of trying to get along, but also there's that uncomfortable feeling that, is like the tension between them and everybody else, because that's really what addiction does in itself. And then that family member basically popping off something about, yeah, well, if you weren't out selling yourself for drugs and blah, 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 or whatever the situation may be. And people don't understand, because then the addict's going to blow up. The addict's going to trip out. The addict's going to not be ready to accept responsibility for any of that, which is what we do when we are still in our active addiction. And then it's going to blow up. Nothing good's going to come of it. Okay. So I use these analogies a lot. I use my hands when I talk. I don't know if you guys notice, but I use my hands a lot when I welcome to my channel. You're going to see my hands going like this. Okay. And so if you're trying to battle your addiction by yourself, so you just have you against your addiction, it's always going to overpower you, which is why you need support, which is why in recovery, it's very, very hard. I won't say impossible, but it's very difficult. It makes them much more difficult when they're already extremely hard if you try to do it all on your own. Reaching outside of yourself to get help, to get support, to get someone to talk to have a support system, to have people around you supporting you. That's all I keep saying is support. And that's huge. In order to get better, you have to have support wherever that may come from. It may not be your family. It may not be your friends. It may not be your best friend. It may be an NA group. It may be your counselor. It may be your best friend. It may be your dog sometimes. I mean, you need people's support. That's what I'm saying. You have to have outside help. And that's my opinion. You have to have help outside of yourself. If you want to last, if you want to stay clean and sober, if you want to get there. So I turned off my video for a second and I sat here for a long time and really zoned in on what I wanted to talk about and how else to take this. And I realized I'm going to have to just get very open and vulnerable about my story. And that's not easy to do, especially when you're putting it out there for the world. But if it helps somebody, then so be it. So the struggle that comes into play is being in a situation and knowing that what you're doing is not helping you. It's not moving you forward. It's actually moving you backwards and getting you closer to like your rock bottom and taking you this way. And it's kind of a vicious cycle because as you know that the things that you're doing are not moving you forward, they're actually taking you backwards, you can't stop doing them. When I say you can't stop doing them, I mean like if you just sit here and you're like, wow, I shouldn't go get high because it's ruining my life. And then you say, okay, well, I'm not going to go get high. It doesn't work like that. And it just brings me to thinking about, I had my kids removed from my care because of drugs and an abusive relationship, which is obviously still hard for me to talk about, but I'm just going to do it. Ooh. But even still, when my kids were removed from my care and they were not in my care because of drugs, I still couldn't get clean. And, I share my story and I share, that I did get them back. I did get them back. They're home with me, happy, healthy, wonderful, beautiful, almost 7-year-old kids. But even when they were gone, it still wasn't enough for me to stop right away. And I guess I'm kind of losing the words for explaining why. It's just that you can't stop. And I guess my goal in this video and in this message is kind of to bridge the gap between people who are non-addicts, who love someone that is an addict, who understand the fact that it goes beyond just, well, why don't you stop? Why don't you just quit? For me, I knew what I was doing was wrong, was not okay, was not helpful, was not moving me towards my goal. And then when I would get high anyway, it was either to drown out those feelings, it was either to escape my reality, it was either to kind of pretend like that's not what was happening, kind of numb myself. And then another one was just, that's the routine, that's what I do. We're habitual beings. And when your habit is to get high all the time, no matter what you're doing, you just go get high. You find comfort in that routine, whatever that routine may be. So I think it's a mixture of all of those things. And then once you are high, it's so weird. It's so weird because once you are high, you're running away from whatever's making you feel uncomfortable enough to need to go get high. When you get high, you don't even really feel better about what's going on in your life because you just feel guilty about making the choice that was the opposite of the way you wanted to go. And that's where the freaking torture comes in. That's where misery sets in because you're disappointed in yourself. You're angry at yourself. You're frustrated. You're unhappy. You're sad. You're all conflicted. All of those things that you feel, it's because of the action that you just did that you didn't really want to be doing, but you did it anyway. And it's a freaking vicious circle. It's a very miserable place to be. Miserable is the best way that I can describe that. I was in my most miserable stage, whatever you want to call it, from, well, before the boys were removed, but at least from the day they were removed up until I got them back full time, which was about 20 months. That's a long time. A long time to feel miserable. It's a long time to feel hopeless. It's a long time to not see a lot of goodness happening around you, but still sticking with the fight, the good fight, the plan, the vision. Which is why I think a lot of addicts early in on recovery give up. Number one, like I said earlier, you need the support. You need support around you. Number two, you have to keep a vision of something that you're working towards besides just, oh, I should get clean. Or, oh, somebody else wants me to get clean. That's why it never works if it's for somebody else, because it's never enough. It's never enough. Anybody's other stuff is never enough to get you clean and sober. Not from a pull that's that strong. It has to come from within. It has to come from you. So you have to be able to see a vision for your life. You have to be able to picture yourself somewhere else. And when you're in the depths and the grips of addiction like that, and like in such a sad, miserable, lonely, cold, dark place, that's tough. It's tough because it can't come from anybody else. It has to come from you. And that's just kind of the reality of it. Coming back from addiction is hard. And trying to sit here and explain it to you guys and kind of relive it in my head is also hard. But it also makes me appreciate how far I've come. And it reminds me how much I want to keep sharing the message that it's doable, that it's possible, that anybody can do it. I say this a lot, but like, you know, me and Sean got clean and we're not anybody special. We just put the work in, and that's what it takes. So whether you're an addict and maybe this helps you feel heard or feel seen, or if you are a family member and this helps you understand a little bit into the insight of how your loved one's brain works, I think on either ends of those, then hopefully I got my message across. I have a lot more to go into about family members and all of that stuff. This was more just trying to talk about what it's like to do something that you don't really want to do, but you do anyway. On a very grand scale. So I laugh because now it's kind of like, what do I say? Hey, subscribe to my channel, like my channel. I'm sorry if I really just got you very emotional. It's kind of therapeutic for me, to be honest with you. And I keep looking over here because that's where I am, but you guys are over here. It's kind of weird recording yourself and talking to a video. So if this was helpful, comment down below that it was helpful. Like it, subscribe if there's something specific you guys want to talk about, you guys want to hear about. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, night, whatever time it is that you're watching this. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you want to hang out and talk about addiction, even though it's tough. My addiction and my troubled past has created one hell of an experience for me to share. And that's what I'm doing. So stay safe out there. Stay true to you. Here to help, and we do recover.